Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Real History Short. I am your host, Jared Frederick, and just recently I was introduced to a new film that is soon to be released. I read about it in the New York Times, and I thought, I wonder why I haven't seen the trailer for that. And lo and behold, the trailer was released a few days ago, and that film is Emancipation, starring Will Smith, directed by Antoine Fuqua, who is known for his top-notch action thrillers. And this is a movie that, going by its title, I was immediately hoping that it would be, as the title would suggest, a historical film. And in this regard, I was not disappointed. In reading the caption for the video, I learned that this film is going to be based off of the life and exploits of an enslaved man whose name was Gordon, also known as Whipped Peter in the popular culture and media of the 1860s. And so I have withheld the temptation of watching the trailer thus far, and I will be offering a genuine reaction here, and then we'll have a little bit of historical commentary as well. So it appears Apple Films is stepping up their game, and of course with Masters of the Air coming out next year too. Historical subjects seem to be a good content for that. Very ominous here from the beginning. Blood dripping on the leaves.
Slaves are free.
Confederate flag waving. It looks like they have the right one, the square one, not the rectangular one.
Lincoln.
Conversations of Lincoln happening in an enslaved person's village. These sorts of conversations were common.
Through this swamp. There are many ways to die in a swamp. There are many ways to die here.
Almost has a bridge on the River Kwai quality to it. People trying to overcome the elements as well as the sinister nature of mankind. Oh, and a Civil War battle scene here. Too quick to make any details in regard to authenticity. First glance at the cannon looked a bit off. Confederate soldiers following. Oh, there's another battle scene. Oh, and there's a glimpse of the camera work. Looked like United States colored troops, as they were formerly known, included in this. Wow. That is quite the tease. In theaters December 2nd, streaming December 9th. Wow. So there were a number of things that caught my attention and my interest in this. First of all, the tone of the film, not merely its atmosphere, but the very cinematography itself. It is very diluted, even more so than Saving Private Ryan, it would seem. And perhaps in doing so, they are trying to not necessarily separate the gap between past and present as much, and to have that old-fashioned quality, that almost black and white atmosphere that we often associate with Civil War photographs. There's a lot of eerie ambience to all of this, and sure enough, for freedom-seeking enslaved persons, as they were embarking on their journeys to freedom, they had to overcome so many hurdles. One thing that really does excite me about this film is that, well, as we've discussed on this channel, Hollywood does not have a great track record in regard to historically depicting slavery in an accurate fashion.
You've been brave so long, Miss Scarlett. You just gotta go on being brave.
And one thing that has been omitted from so many historical films over the years is the fact that enslaved people emancipated themselves. We often give credit to Abraham Lincoln as the great emancipator, and from a political standpoint, that logic carries a lot of weight. But when we look at emancipation at the grassroots level, It was enslaved individuals who were pressing the issues themselves upon the federal establishment, whether it be the United States Army or politicians at different levels of society. And it certainly looks like this film embraces that historical truth. What I'll be doing now is that I'm going to be offering some historical commentary on the real-life man who was known as Gordon or Whipped Peter. So if you don't want any spoilers, if you want to go into the film with a clean slate and not knowing what's going to happen, you can press pause right now and revisit our video at a later time. All that said, the information on his exploits is readily available in many, many articles on the internet. So perhaps you wish to go into the film informed as well. But a slave named Gordon, we don't have his last name, and that was unfortunately very common among enslaved people. He escaped from his owner in the spring of 1863, and he successfully fled to the United States Army 19th Corps, which was located in the vicinity of Baton Rouge, Louisiana at that time. And so going from the film snippets that we saw here, there's certainly that boggy, swampy environment that is characteristic of places like Louisiana. So that part of the film is most definitely correct. And once he started to be inspected by U.S. Army medical personnel, these horrible scars from his whippings were discovered on his back. And there were a number of images that were made of him. There is one of him wearing rather ragged and tattered clothing that he entered the U.S. Army camp in, and then he partially disrobed and he showed his back to the camera. And this is a moment depicted in the film. We saw a brief glimpse of that being recreated here. And what that showed is that photography had an increasing amount of power in conveying imagery and also morality in the Civil War era. And so for those of you interested in the history of photography, I think this film would likewise be very interesting for us to take a look at. Gordon thereafter joined the United States Colored Troops, and it was reported in the abolitionist newspaper The Liberator that he participated at the Battle of Port Hudson, which was one of the first really substantial battles in which black men participated and really demonstrated to the American public that they were worthy not only of being referred to as soldiers and earning that right and title, but it also began to prompt people to recognize that they were in fact worthy of the rights of citizenship. That's what they were fighting this war for, and undoubtedly that was one of the factors that Gordon was fighting for as well. So I won't delve into any more. I don't want to spill the beans too much. But I'm really looking forward to this cinematic representation. We really haven't had a big budget Civil War film since Free State of Jones starring Matthew McConaughey. And unfortunately, despite the fact that I really enjoy that movie, and despite the fact that it takes some authenticity liberties, it didn't do well at the box office. Because Civil War films are in many ways considered box office poison these days. But given the current discussions that we are having in the country about a reckoning with the nation's uncomfortable racial history, perhaps this is just the sort of film that we need in order to acknowledge such stories and such heroism. So with that, I'm really looking forward to Emancipation come this December, and perhaps we will do a full-length review shortly thereafter upon its release. So, thank you for tuning in to this trailer reaction, followed by a little bit of historical commentary. We have a lot more great content forthcoming here on Real History, and until then, stay curious.
Oh, wow.